to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Oh, it's good to be back with you. July 14th, the Fantasy Footballers. Jason Moore is here.
Yes, I am.
Mike Wright. Present accounted for.
Chillo.
I'm Andy Holloway, and this is the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. We got the Deucers Alley back there loaded up with
all three of them.
Deucers. Papa Josh is back there, shining like the sun. Should realign that light. We got Al Borland and the Falcon as well.
Apparently, we're all in shades of like blue-gray over here today.
Are you? Let me take another look at that.
But, yeah.
Okay, you kind of blend in with the background, just floating heads. We have another divisional breakdown show finishing up the AFC today. And this is a wild one. I think this is going to be very, very fun. We're talking AFC West. Still hard for me to look at that division and see that record for the Chiefs. It just feels
impossible.
So we get to talk about, among other topics, like a lot of fantasy football relevant players in this division. Tons of them. Tons of them with like unsettled projections, really. I mean, just situations where you're like, guys like Rashee Rice and Omarion Hampton.
There's gold and then there are hills, though.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and we get to talk about all that. And a lot of these teams like had crazy records when it came to one-score games that we'll talk about. And, yeah, we're going to have some good debates. I know that for a fact. The Ultimate Draft Kit is available right now. You can download the mobile app. You can get the draft analyzer. You can go to ultimatedraftkit.com. It is the number one way to get yourself prepped up. We've been refining and perfecting it for years on years on years. And the newest feature, a mock draft tool. Yes, a proprietary Fantasy Footballers mock draft tool where you can load in ADP from different platforms so that you can customize your mock drafts, is coming probably this week.
It is probably up right now when you're listening to it.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, check,
go
update your app. Update your app.
I don't think that we have an approved version of the app that we can release.
Just go update your app.
No idea.
Today's the day. Today's the day.
It'll be there soon.
It's been a while since Jason has done this to our company.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've got
Monday, July 13th.
The show is always
the mock draft tool is available.
That's a back date. You could have just said today.
Oh, is this
coming out on Tuesday?
It came out yesterday.
Jason, stop it.
That's right. I guarantee it's up today.
Oh, no.
The best part is our show gets broadcast in the lobby where the devs all work, and they get to hear this.
Yeah.
And the beads of sweat forming and dripping off their faces.
I can hear the door. I think they all just walked out.
Get your phone. Update
coming out next year.
Update your Ultimate Draft Kit and play around with the new mock draft tool.
It is so cool, and it's going to get so much better. People have asked about supporting like keepers and stuff like that, and that's not there at the jump. But we're going to be.
This is all we're working on for the next little while.
Yeah, the mock draft tool is so fundamental to the way you prepare, and we've always wanted one. To create our own, and people have asked for that forever, and it's not a small undertaking, and our team has done an incredible job, and we're really excited about it, and you're going to love it. And that's all at ultimatedraftkit.com. Let's jump right into some news. Not a lot, but some interesting things to talk about.
News and notes from around the league.
Papa Josh, by the way, who is among, he's one of our producers, but he also is the community manager for the entire Foot Clan.
What is?
And he's shaking his head because
you know what's coming in here, Josh?
Oh, I know what's coming.
Yeah, because he said R.I.P. my inbox asking where the mock draft tool is.
Yeah.
He knows that he is going to be.
Get him.
He knows that support at fantasyfootballers.com is going to get just loaded up.
Well, if there's an issue, that's when they will contact support at fantasyfootballers.com. That's just if there's an issue.
Right. So he just knows how loaded up that's going to be.
What will be?
Support at fantasyfootballers.com.
Okay. All right, cool. Shouldn't have shook your head, Josh. We will pile on you.
He does take phone calls at 4-8. No, I'm just kidding. Man, that would be so brutal.
Oh man,
So
give
brutal.
out the real one.
The Athletics' James Boyd is reporting that Daniel Jones is cleared to do everything ahead of training camp. We're talking standing, sitting, running, jumping,
reading,
writing, arithmetic.
all of it.
Colts running back coach DeAndre Smith said the team, quote, definitely needs to find ways to take some of that workload off of Jonathan Taylor.
Was he saying this to Chris Ballard? Because it's like, dude, we got to find ways, and we're searching because DJ Giddens, Seth McGowan, like, I understand
Don't they have somebody else?
Oh, no.
Ulysses
No.
Bentley the fourth.
Wait, Ulysses S. Bentley the fourth?
Yes. I mean, they do.
That's a real person?
That is a real person. This was an interesting quote.
Oh, my gosh, that name is spectacular.
I read the whole context, and, they admit it's hard to take Jonathan Taylor off the field. They think he'll be better if they can manage his workload. This is real in the sense that they definitely want to give him less work than they have been giving him.
Ulysses Bentley the fourth become something.
But also, it will become push comes to shove impossible.
It is as irrelevant as the 49ers wanting to take workload off of Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly.
So
you're not able to do it.
it is, obviously when you see a report like that, it might scare you and you have to make a decision with Jonathan Taylor. And I think we talked about this division. There are scary things about Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
One is the fact that he's been dominant and then not, and then dominant again. Like, you do have variables with how often this team is leading games, whether the offense is moving.
He's much better in wins, and this is that's a tough division. If they don't win as many games as expected, then it could be a down year for Jonathan Taylor. But when this news came out, I went to the Ultimate Draft Kit, went to my team-by-team rankings. I wanted to take a look and see, because I believe it. I believe that they do want to look at that workload, and I looked at what I had Jonathan Taylor down for, which was already less than he had last year, and I couldn't move it at all. I'm like, I just looked at the depth chart. I'm like, not gonna happen.
Yeah, when it's DJ Giddens competing with Seth McGowan to be the backup, and they still don't know who it is.
They're like, someone.
Yeah,
someone show me something.
I'm not putting a bunch into this, but Jonathan Taylor already has red flags. I think I mentioned last week.
Who are the
I moved it
biggest
down a
free
little bit.
agent running backs still available? Like Najee. Like, if Najee arrived in Indianapolis, would you care?
No, I
What,
think
off the Achilles?
Yeah, I mean, they love that. Daniel Jones,
A little bit easier for a quarterback.
I don't know who else. I mean, you could maybe make a move for Kamara, not a free agent.
I'm trying to think. Kareem Hunt, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb.
Kareem Hunt,
I don't really care that much.
Kareem Hunt, just because he just scores touchdowns.
Yeah.
So if you take away some goal line work, that's a problem. But there's no one. I don't think there's anyone hanging out who can destroy the depth chart.
All right. Well, we want to kick this off right away with the AFC West breakdown. There's a lot to talk about. I want to make sure we don't miss anything. So we'll take a quick early break and come back with the last AFC divisional breakdown. All right, let's get into it.
Let's get divisional.
All right, Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders. It is a fun division for fantasy and, man, questions to be answered. The Chiefs, before last year's 6-11 season, by the way, had gone 35-3 against the AFC West in the Mahomes era. That is insane. That record is insane. You basically had an L if you faced the Chiefs during his entire tenure before last year.
Yeah, the NFL taking L's.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, last year the Broncos 14-3, Chargers 11-6, Chiefs were 6-11,
6-11,
and the Raiders were 3-14. So
it was fun.
Oh,
come on,
yeah,
guys.
No, it was a nice reprieve.
Yes,
from a breath of fresh air.
Go ahead.
We get something different. That's great.
Be good again. I don't care.
Sure,
we got to enjoy last year.
What's crazy is when I think back of last year, the Chiefs season really went. It went sour. Eventually, it felt like they knew they were not going to make the playoffs. They kind of shut people down. Mahomes got injured, and they just kind of forgot the second half of the year. But really, like I didn't remember until recently when I was preparing for this. It was like Mahomes only missed the last 2 games. He played the whole season.
Yeah, we'll talk extensively about what happened and what you think is going to happen. But we get to start respectfully with the division winner, the 14-3 Denver Broncos. 11-2 in one-score games, which,
oh boy,
if you want to talk about the Chiefs again really quickly, last year the Chiefs were 12-0. Or 2 years ago, they were 12-0 in one-score games. They went 1-9 last year. So it just shows you that is the most volatile of stats. Now, if you had to ask me what makes you great at one-score games, I would say a defense the likes of the Denver Broncos and a head coach the likes of Sean Payton.
Yes.
However, a lot of what happened in Denver last year was, there was a lot of makeup put on the face of the offense. Let's put it that way. Like they were
bad.
Good looking. Because when you look at the metrics, they were they were in the middle, 15th in points per game.
Fake.
And fake, that you think that number's fake?
Yeah, I think that number's fake.
I mean, that's just like a number.
No, I know, but I'm saying
it's a statistical truth.
I realize that, but like they put up 44 points against the Dallas Cowboys. So it's like, oh, well, yeah, okay.
So you're saying on average?
Yeah, I'm saying the average
their
points per
consistency
game
rank would be bad.
Yeah, it would be like D+, C-.
Now, the big part that stands out to me is a couple of things on this offense, and I really, really want to talk about it because there is a temptation for me to make Bo Nix my guy this year. He's one of the players that when I went into my projections, I really, really look at what's going on. I love Sean Payton. They're the only team who I don't love.
Oh, no,
hold on.
I don't think the camera was on me, but my eyes went wide. We got to get that because when he said that, like, clip that Andy loves Sean Payton. You heard it here.
I have made a horrible mistake.
Oh man, fantastic! You have badmouthed this man for the last 4 years.
I hate Sean Payton, the man, and I love Sean Payton, the fantasy producing head coach who I trust to make the right play calls.
Sure, but that's not how I'm going to.
No, that's not how you.
Publish it later.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
that's not what I
heard.
heard.
Work, Falcon, fly high.
So let me, if I can possibly return to my point.
Go on.
The temptation with Bo Nix is that I love the team. I think they're going to be a successful team. I think they're going to threaten for the division. And they're the only team returning 100% of their carries and targets from 2025. So they're bringing back this offense, and then you just add to the offense, right? You bring back everybody, and then you add Jalen Waddle, who is an elite, like, yards after catch guy. And this was an offense that struggled tremendously with getting the ball down the field. They had the lowest yards per attempt in the history of the National Football League for a 14-plus win team. So this is what I'm saying, where there was a lot of makeup thrown on the offense. I don't think Sean Payton is satisfied. I do think that there is tremendous risk for Bo Nix. Like, if he falls on his face with all these weapons, right, there's not going to be an excuse when you have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Like, he was sacked half as much.
Maybe the best.
Yeah, I mean, he was sacked half as much as Justin Herbert. Half. Like, pressures, half. Like, you've been given, like, Sean Payton is not a patient man. It's one of the reasons I hate him. Did you hear that, Jay?
I did not.
But he is not going to have, you got the best defense, you've got all these elite weapons, you've got a great offensive line, and if you cannot complete passes in this offense and get it done, I'm telling you, if he falls on his face and starts throwing picks all year long, you're going to have a question about Bo Nix. The good thing for him is everything is set up for him. And so for me, he left a lot on the table last year, and you're like, are you ready to come in here with all of those advantages and deliver? Because if you do, if you go in and throw 4 or 5 more touchdowns than you did last year and reduce your turnovers a little bit,
sure,
you're going to be an elite fantasy option.
I would agree with you that the rope seems like it's a done deal as like a future franchise star, but it really could go the other way. Now, obviously, that depends on him. If he comes out and proves that he's good, great. The first 6 weeks of the Broncos season they start on the road in Kansas City, then the Jacksonville Jaguars, then the Rams, then the Niners, then the Chargers, then the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks.
That's reason enough not to make him a my guy.
6 unbelievably hard games. They're only favored in 1, which is wild for a team that just won.
That's wild.
14 games. They return everybody plus a couple extra pieces. They really didn't lose much. And to be favored in 1 of their first 6 games, it's tough sledding. And their defense is
crazy.
Is unbelievable. So I think they're I guess my opinion of the Broncos offensively, when I went back and I watched Bo Nix film, and I watched specifically, you talk about the average depth of target being bad because, he wasn't able to push the ball down the field.
If you can sit in the pocket as long as he did.
For sure, but he did not have the weapons. As much as I love my man Troy Franklin, they needed Waddle. And when I was watching Bo Nix, what I left with was, dadgummit, they need a wide receiver like Waddle. So I do think Waddle could really unlock this offense, but it will be tough sledding for if you want to draft players here, you're going to have some tight games that I think this team will rightfully rely on their defense to start the year.
So, Mike, the question to you is whether you believe Bo Nix will step up into what he should be for fantasy, because despite all of the eye test and the issues he had last year and disastrous performances on Thursday Night Football at home where he completed 150 yards and a touchdown against the hapless Raiders, he was still the quarterback 6 in counting stats at the end of the year.
Well, he did throw the ball more than anyone in the league,
which is so
612
surprising.
attempts. Well, you got to remember what happened with which also, Bo Nix is also coming off of
Bo Nix
of injury. We do have that.
Yeah,
you have
the ankle.
The Davis Webb, the OC, is now calling plays like that's an official thing. When J.K. Dobbins got hurt, it was a huge problem for this offense. They went like the pass attempts. That's because of J.K. Dobbins, because he gets hurt. You're hoping that R.J. Harvey, a second-round pick, can step up and be the guy. He could not. R.J. Harvey was fine for fantasy because he was scoring a bunch of touchdowns, and he can get it done in the receiving game. But as of right now, where he is in his career, he's nowhere close to Dobbins, and they knew that, and they completely they went to a very pass-heavy offense. I'm with you, Jason, of this team needed someone, and I think the addition of Jalen Waddle is huge. I think that Waddle still has it. Last year on a per-route basis, still elite. Yards per route run at 2.42. Cortland Sutton, who was out there running, more routes than almost anyone in the league, was at 1.85 yards per route run. As your top option, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. So you go out and you get Waddle. I am very interested by the Denver Broncos because I think everyone is either priced appropriately or at a value. I've talked all offseason. J.K. Dobbins is one of my favorite picks. I don't get the discrepancy between Dobbins and R.J. Harvey and ADP when you can get the starter in the middle of the 7th round around there. And Waddle in the back of the 4th, not a top 20 wide receiver at the moment, he can easily finish top 15 the way that I see him, the way that he can match up with Bo Nix. So, and then the potential for Bo Nix himself to bounce back. Him going at QB 15 seems egregiously low for what he is able to do. And not that he's not the cheat code mobile quarterback, but he'll give you. He can give
300.
You he have 300 for sure, but
430 rushing yards rookie year, 356 last year.
Maybe
I don't know
the ankle though.
I don't know if
from the beginning it might
will hurt him or not. But regardless, he was rookie year quarterback 7, last year quarterback 6. Adds Jalen Waddle, and now he's being drafted as quarterback 15. So he's certainly a value. Waddle, that's just a matter of what do you believe in Waddle. He's appropriately priced. We're all fans of J.K. Dobbins. That seems like a very mispriced running back in the draft. Love that. The one guy that I can't get myself to draft ever, and when I
it's R.J. Harvey, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but no, that wasn't who I was bringing up. No, Cortland Sutton. Waddle shows up, and it's like, well, I would never. But Cortland Sutton was the wide receiver 13 2 years in a row, and he's
the Ramondre of that team.
Yes,
Waddle
perfect comp.
That just popped into my head. It was like you don't know how to draft a guy that is solid but isn't the spectacular one.
Yeah, he's not going to go out there. The thing is there's no chance he really wins you a fantasy championship. So do you want
or Sutton?
Right, okay, that's a great one. I think Sutton has more opportunities for touchdowns.
Interesting.
Cortland Sutton right now being drafted around the 7th round, wide receiver 35.
So I'm looking at trying to get a fresh view here of ADP. Dude, Harvey has plummeted.
We've done work.
Is that our fault?
I mean, we're not the only ones who are breaking down
Who watched
Harvey.
football last year?
But like on underdog right now, Harvey's 31.
Oh, is he going to get to a place now where we're like,
It's almost
I like
impossible
him.
to make the case for like.
Please don't do that.
Here's
to
the
me.
problem. He had everything in front of him,
Yeah.
and now it's like, how do you possibly get the amount of work where he wasn't as good as we want him to be? With Jonah Coleman there, if Dobbins goes down again, which he does every year, Jonah Coleman is now present.
I agree with
And
that.
so all of a sudden
and I think Coleman becomes the thumper.
yeah, and the best ball case for RJ Harvey is a tough one now.
right.
For what it's worth, after those initial 6 games, it is a juicy stretch for Denver. They get they're favored in the next 8 matchups, and we're talking 7.5, 8.5, 9.5 in some of them. So maybe that's the redemption period of the year if they have some hard fought games in the first half. So, we've talked about Waddle, we've talked about Bo Nix, we can talk about Dobbins and Coleman and RJ Harvey. I think we know that Peyton is willing to be kind of fluid at the position and give a lot of guys carries. When Bidet and McLaughlin were getting opportunities on this team, we kind of rolled our eyes in the back of our head, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to get, production. So that could mean Coleman getting more snaps if he gets off to a hot start. It could mean
It could, but Dobbins was great last year, especially when you factor in where you were drafting him. I mean, the first 5 weeks of last year, not under 11 fantasy points. Running back 19 was his worst finish. Has a couple duds after that, but he's a strong player. And
Here's how they used him. The
Okay.
running back attempts of the running back rush share for Dobbins last year. Just his game log: 73%, 70%, 85%, 52, 80, 78, 78, 65, 83, 82. It really was it was his role,
Right.
and I do think that that's how they're going to start this year, which is why we all think he's a value right now. But Andy's right. In the past, Peyton has certainly been fine with a 3-headed timeshare. Coleman is very good. He's a rookie that we all really loved. Fell a little bit in the draft. Still good draft capital. But if he gets the opportunity, I think he is the path for Dobbins to be a bad pick.
sure, yeah, Dobbins isn't a foolproof pick. He looks like a very strong value right now. He doesn't get the receiving work to be a league winning type of player, but this could be a top half offense, and Dobbins could get a bunch of rushing touchdowns. And then the trio of Pat Bryant, Sutton, and Waddle that's a strong wide receiver crew, in my opinion. Which, if you're in on Bo Nix,
Evan Ingram's there.
yeah, he's just there. What, one finished in the top 10 last year?
Is there any chance that it's not Bo Nix's fault and it's that stupid Sean Payton's fault? He
No.
is dead last in pre-snap motion in
Yeah,
the entire NFL, which
Yeah,
we
we
just
don't
talked
love
about
that.
last week.
no, we
It's
don't
a sign
love
of
that.
being an old curmudgeon-y
That's a stick in the mud.
suck face.
Nice.
I've got so much ground to make up you don't even know. So much ground to make up. Golly, I'll probably have to make fun of Kevin James at some point during this show,
Well,
just by association.
yeah, I mean, it might change with Davis Webb actually calling the plays and being more involved. We'll see. Hopefully they have more pre-snap motion play action with this offensive line.
Any other Denver Broncos stuff you want to talk about?
Nope.
No, I would say overall slightly above neutral for me on the fantasy outlook of this team.
Yeah,
I don't see any
I'm
of
with
them.
that.
I don't see any of them as real league winners, but I'm fine with just about everybody at cost.
The Los Angeles Chargers went 11-6 last year.
Here we go, baby.
Yeah.
I'm hot.
I think
I'm
this is
bothered.
This is such a this team. It seems like every year we have.
This is
Yeah,
the
that's
one.
what it feels like. I mean,
yeah.
How many this is the year? Herb
Dude,
Bros. How many
dude.
this is the year?
This
How many?
a
I find-
broken clock is right twice a day, my
I find
man.
my conviction waning.
Oh no.
My optimism is at an
Turn
all-time
his mic on.
high. Like I'm exciting.
Okay.
I mean, I'm excited at the potential when you put Mike McDaniel and Herbert and Harbaugh and Hampton and Ladd and all these guys together. But it does feel like a team where something just goes wrong on a yearly basis. They were 6-2 in one-score games. They were projected to win 9.5 last year. They beat that despite an offense that ranked 18th in yards per game, 24th in points per game. That's why Greg Roman got the boot. G-Row
Got to go.
got to go. And Mike McDaniel, we know that this is somebody that, we talked about him. He's in the top 5, I think number 1 or 2 in motion, pre-snap motion rate. He knows how to get his best players open and get them into situations to succeed. It gives me a lot of optimism that he can do that with, specifically Omarion Hampton, putting him in a position to become an elite running back, and then Ladd McConkey and Huge to be really relevant weekly stars for your fantasy team, even in a place where you can kind of say, hey, Ladd, he let you down, but maybe he can be redeemed by Mike McDaniel in this offense. Jason, I know you are a Herbro.
Yes.
Is this another year of not quite there, or you think this is a fantasy relevant year for him as a quarterback?
When it comes to Justin Herbert, I believe in the talent of Justin Herbert. He is very good. What he had to deal with last year with the offensive line was a nightmare. He finishes the quarterback 9. I don't look at him specifically as the fantasy piece I want from this team. I look at him as a really good quarterback that can move an offense, get a ton of scoring opportunities. He's not going to go out there and rush for 500-plus yards and get 8 rushing touchdowns.
He could if he wanted to.
He could. He's got the physical capabilities. But with this offensive line, with a healthy Hampton, Mike McDaniel there, this looks to me like a team that's going to score a lot of points. The offensive line is the biggest thing for me because this is not a small change. In fact, I don't remember any – maybe last year what the Bears did to their offensive line when they brought in Ben Johnson. They completely took their guards and center and just –
Well, they opened the vault.
Yeah, they went from one of the worst to one of the best. I expect this year genuinely the Chargers offensive line to go from one of the worst in the NFL last year, maybe the worst as far as when they actually played the players who were healthy because their 2 stars were gone, and then they added one of the best centers in the league this year. So you're telling me you get
I dare you to pronounce his last name.
No!
Professional NFL center.
Yes.
Tyler B.
But you're talking about like a high-end top 5 left tackle, right tackle, and center that all were not really there last year.
So to your point, and Theo Ash tweeted this out, like even with Rashawn Slater, who went out in the offseason, devastating, when Joe Alt was active, they were top 5 in the NFL in EPA per play. So just having Joe Alt there, it really fell apart after that. He was hit double the amount of times as Bo Nix, like I said earlier. I mean, that is, again, we've been here with Justin Herbert. I know Mike is, like, we've always had a reason why the season didn't go right for him.
The Chargers are the equivalent.
Biadish. That's the last name.
Biadish?
Biadish?
I think it's Biadish.
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 Get it fancy.
Biadish. Biadish. No.
I'm okay with it. It's Monday.
So the Chargers lately are they are the equivalent of Final Destination. It's you're like,
I know.
I
do know.
The catastrophe. You will not escape it.
Lightning strikes that team.
I will say I have I'm not critical of Herbert's potential in the player. Just the Herbros hive of this is the year. Of any of all the years, this is the most optimism I would share with those who are with the Chargers. McDaniel helps a ton for that. Look, to me, Harbaugh is just, he's too old school for me. And so the fact that you get polar opposites. Like Hard Dog is as high T.
Do you think
as
those
it
two
gets.
guys hear each other when they talk?
Or they just
you think
take
Mike
turns?
McDaniel and Harbaugh even hear each other? Is it like a foreign language back and forth?
Them being matched up together
It's
would
amazing.
be interesting television. But I'm optimistic that this is finally the year that things get put together for Herbert, and we get back to what we saw with, what was that, year 2 of him?
Is
Year 1.
Hampton going to be an elite running back with the offensive line you talked about?
Yes. I that's where I am That's where I'm most excited. Like, I love
Should
Ladd
be.
McConkey, I
He's
love
going-
Herbert, and I love Hampton, but I'm not 100% sure that it's going to be Ladd on the field in 2 wide receiver sets.
Which they'll see a ton of 12 personnel.
And
That's taken over the NFL.
I see that this is a team that is – I expect them to win more of their close games this year with Harbaugh and this offensive line. So, to me, the big winner of the offense that I can personally project is Hampton. I know they brought in Keaton Mitchell, and he's an exciting back, and some people are really afraid of him.
Wanted poster, Jason.
Yeah, the wanted poster. But this is a guy who's not going to touch the ball 10 times in the game, Keaton Mitchell. I mean, they're talking about getting him 8 touches. That's the type of – and they'll be valuable. They'll be good for the team. But I don't see him as someone that's a reason to be afraid of Hampton. Yeah. Also, it's really fun to get off to a hot start in fantasy football, right?
Okay.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
What if I told you that they opened the season against the Cardinals and Raiders?
That's pretty solid.
I mean, you're telling me that when you're basically a double-digit favorite 2 games in a row, Hampton's not going to get off to a hot start. I really like. That is an incredible
start to the year. Quentin Johnston will be out there in 2 wide receiver sets.
But then it's road versus the Bills, road Seahawks, Denver, Kansas City right after that.
Yeah, I mean, when all teams in this division will unfortunately have to play this division twice.
Yeah. That's the biggest argument against any of these teams having a great year is that you have a tough division with 3 teams that could easily win the whole thing. I mentioned Quentin Johnston. He should be out there all the time, even in the 12 personnel sets. That is an encouragement for him. But there is a lot of optimism around McConkey.
Yeah.
And I do trust McDaniel putting him into position to succeed.
I trust McDaniel as well. Ladd McConkey is shaping up as one of the most difficult picks in fantasy. Well, because everything makes sense, just like everything made sense last year for when a second round pick goes 82 for 1150 and 7. Like that's a guy who's on a rocket ship to be a superstar in the NFL.
And he's so good.
And he is so good. He can just destroy zone. He gets open. He has a really high football IQ. And then they bring in Keenan Allen, and he's like essentially benched for Keenan Allen.
I mean, that's another point, though, heading into this year, 22% of targets gone with no Keenan Allen.
122 total targets to Keenan Allen that are gone. Now, I will –
But
I will go into the
community
season
full of that. They're like, no problem. We're just deleting that because he's back in the 4th round.
Yeah, he's being drafted right now as the wide receiver 18. I think that's probably about where he finishes, but he does have the talent and upside and opportunity to smash that. Now, I was just about to say, I'm until Keenan Allen has a team this year, I'm going to half assume, half worry that he's going to be a Charger. He's just going to sign late and then ruin Ladd. So if you're doing early drafts right now, I don't know about that. But Huge, I don't think Huge has the same upside as Ladd because he doesn't have the same talent. But he's being drafted as the wide receiver like 49. He has the last 2 years he's been in the 30s as a wide receiver. I'm super happy to take a shot on him late.
Are you still in on Gadsden as a breakout candidate at tight end with the 12 personnel, with the fact that Njoku was added but really faded down the stretch last year and seems he's on the back of his career?
Yeah, I was really bullish on Gadsden as soon as we finished the UDK stats, but it certainly hurts him to have Njoku there. However, as a last round type of pick, that's where I'll go. I mean, we talk about this all the time, or I talk about it all the time. I'm not taking those middle tight ends. I just want shots at those late guys. Whether it's we brought up Dallas Goedert, we brought up some other guys. I think Gadsden is one of those where you take a swing and it just might be a really, really talented. I mean, his rookie season was awesome.
He should be on the field a ton.
He should.
He shouldn't be leaving the field very much. All right, we'll take a break and we'll talk about the 6-11 Kansas City Chiefs. All right, the last season for the Chiefs, that was a rough one. 6-11. They were projected to win 11.5 games. They went 1-9 in one-score games. They went 0-8 against playoff teams. And then to just put be the capstone of the season, you lose your $500 million man to a torn left ACL.
Late in the season.
All the recovery reports right now are very, very positive. But then you also had, Rashee Rice had missed the first 6 weeks last year with the suspension, then missed 3 weeks with a concussion. He had his own sort of drama this offseason again. Like there are a lot of questions about this offense in terms of the weapons for Patrick Mahomes, when Mahomes will be back as a, fully loaded version of himself. Last year, they only had 4 offensive plays of 20-plus yards that resulted in a touchdown. That is the fewest in the NFL. It's the most opposite of what we used to have in Kansas City with the likes of Tyreek Hill and the big plays. They were 20th in points per game, 20th in yards per game. You mentioned it. He only missed 2 games. This was an offense that just plain didn't work. It was a running game that didn't work at all.
No, not at all.
And so, you look at the entirety of the Chiefs, and there's only one player on that team that I have a good amount of confidence with producing this year.
And is that Rashee Rice or is that Kenneth
Ken Walker?
Okay.
It's Ken Walker.
Yes, it is.
I just don't. I think it was a definitive statement by the team to go out and invest in him.
Yes.
And again, that's not me saying he's a number 1 running back or anything like that. It's just that I don't.
He'll say that.
I see Rashee Rice's production, Mahomes' production, Kelsey's production, other ancillary weapons vacillating all over the place.
I would agree with you other than Rashee Rice.
Maybe Rice is the
Rice to me is.
Well, he may vacillate between active and inactive.
That's true. Whenever you really always have to lead with when he's on the field. When he's on the field, he's great. When he's on the field, okay, that is an important distinction. That being said, most of his not being on the field has been suspension over injury, and right now it does not seem they've already suspended him for what he had a problem with. We haven't heard any news or buzz about the fact that his parole came up, costing him games. So as of right now, my expectation is that he's there week 1. He is coming off of his own injury. However, it always takes remembering how many fantasy points he scores when he is on the field, how many targets he gets from Mahomes. Mahomes last year was the running game. He would scramble, he would drop back. He couldn't find anybody if Rice wasn't there, and he would run. That was really what saved his fantasy production. I don't expect that to happen coming off of a late ACL. He's going to be dumping it to Rashee Rice all the time. Rashee Rice last year in the games played, 8 games played, all with Mahomes, he was on pace for 165 targets from Mahomes, double-digit touchdowns, 1,200 yards, 112 receptions. That's top 3 wide receiver type of numbers.
Is that what you truly believe he would be over the course of an entire season?
Yes, I truly believe over a course of – if he plays 17 and Mahomes plays 17, for this version of the team, we've got an old Kelsey.
Well, you can run now.
And ancillary pieces.
I think that helps.
I do too.
I think Walker really, really helps this team. And generally I'm on the team of a running back addition can't really come in and save an offense. They were awful. We mentioned how bad the ground game was, but so last year, as a team, 1 20-plus yard run. Wow. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs had. Ken Walker, even in limited snaps last year, had 10 by himself. Like, Walker is a piece of an offense that this team has not had for a long time, and I think him being a true threat, an explosive threat, where it's not like, oh boy, it's Kareem Hunt or Pacheco. Okay, fine. They're not defenses.
They're
are
not housing anything.
Defenses are not worried about those guys breaking off a huge run. Ken Walker is one of the players of every time he goes to the edge, you're like, oh, someone better tackle him. And I really think that opens things up for Rice. And Rashee Rice, the wide receiver, that's just a different conversation of how good is he actually, how good are his routes. I don't care. Yeah. He has the mind meld with Mahomes, and so I will just lean on that.
When I look at – he is obviously a dangerous pick. His risk rating in the UDK is going to be plenty high because he might just do something in the middle of the season that jails him.
Yeah.
But if I look at where he's going, it's like, okay, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Tat. There's only one of those guys that could finish like the number 1 or top 3 wide receiver. They're all good wide receivers I mentioned, but if you're really wanting to swing for the fences and get a fantasy championship, I could see Rashee Rice being at the end of the year, like he was one of the best.
Yeah, I think too.
It's wild because I like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes with something to prove after last year. I do like that. Eric Bieniemy's taking over the offense from Matt Nagy. Taking over in the complimentary sense to Andy Reid.
No, that Bieniemy. This is great news.
Maybe. Was it Bieniemy or was it Tyreek Hill?
Okay, that's a fair question, but we know that the offense with Matt Nagy as the OC over the last couple years, we're like, where the heck did Patrick Mahomes go? What is going on here? Like the high flying good times Mahomes, you remember? That's where Bieniemy was on the staff.
Did you guys?
I got a question for you, Mike.
Okay.
So coming up here really soon, we're going to be talking to Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo.
Right.
We're going to the Fanatics Fan Fest. How much crap should we talk about Matt Nagy?
To their faces?
To their faces. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk infinite behind their backs, but should we, in that moment, bring up our disdain, or should we just be gentlemen? Because I keep vacillating.
What you have to do. Oh, he just used.
There's
that
so
word.
much.
I would like you to find a way to ask. Who was it? That JSN gave the answer about the offensive coordinator. Walton.
No,
Shane Waldron.
Waldron. Yes.
Find a way to get an answer like that.
Well, but he's still on the team. He hasn't.
It would be next year when he's going to be able to say that.
Last year, Kansas City 25th in pre-snap motion, 30th in play action rate. You can't play action when you have no threat of the run. Ken Walker gives them a threat of the run. I laugh at the player subtraction list for the Chiefs this year because it is a laundry list of players we talked about like 10 years ago. Kareem Hunt, Hollywood Brown, and Juju. 3 of the names departing along with Pacheco. They didn't.
The star has
I will
set.
say this: they didn't. Yeah, a star has set. They didn't really add anybody in, like, other than Ken Walker. They didn't add anybody in free agency in the draft that are offensive weapons. It's not something they invested in. They are going to be a very good defensive team. It lends itself to, look, like Patrick Mahomes coming back from an ACL, you want to protect him. You want to get the ball out of his hands. You want to have a running game that protects him. That could be part of the recipe to start the season. They have a wonderful first 6 weeks. Favored, bye week favored. That's nice to see. 2 home games to start the year. Then you go on the road against Miami, Las Vegas. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see if I can become a Ken Walker fan on a weekly basis.
Brother, this is best case scenario for everyone. Doesn't matter what side of the Walker argument you are on. This is because if he fails this year, though, us Walker truthers, we're going to lock the door.
Step out of the train.
We will be done. We will admit we were wrong. But if he goes to this team and dominates,
oh man, we're
proof.
never gonna hear the end.
Proof.
All are welcome.
Mike will get a new tattoo.
All are welcome on the Express.
Do you care about Worthy and Kelsey?
Bone Walker.
Kelsey more than Worthy. I think Worthy and Thornton. With the fact that
you guys saw the Worthy video, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the routes,
real tight corners.
Oh
that
man,
looked like some thick grass, man.
Why post that?
Why was that posted?
Yes. For those who haven't seen it, Worthy was running the most ridiculous. You can't call it a route.
He's running circles.
He's running circles. He's running big, wide circles. And it looks like worse than I would expect my kids to. I don't know.
As not a professional wide receiver, perhaps something's going on there that we don't know about. But optically, why are you posting that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the deep threats in Worthy and Thornton will have their games, but it's tough for me to want to draft them because I don't think they will be reliable enough. Kelsey is another one of those guys that, I mean, look,
Kelsey has
at the end of the draft
chance.
Again. Some of these
Kelsey can be top 5 again.
Not everybody that we mentioned in this like handful of late round targets at tight end will be there at the end of the draft, but for sure some of them will be because there's enough of those tier of guys where they're just undrafted, and maybe Kelsey goes a little earlier because he's first ballot Hall of Fame and people hope for the upside. But when he slips in a draft to those double-digit rounds, he's
Laporta for your team or Kelsey?
Like I would much rather have Kelsey in the 12th or 10th than Laporta in the 5th.
Laporta's going in the 5th?
No, but I would much rather have him. I don't know. Where is Laporta going right now?
I'd much rather
6th
have
or 7th?
Kelsey in the 15th than Laporta in the 1st. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No, dude, me too. Let me
You
look
blew
up.
my mind for a sec. I bet he's going in the 9th.
He's 8th.
Okay. The Raiders, last team we get to talk about in the AFC West. Projected win total last year was 6.5. They ended up with the worst record in the league, despite having, according to Jason, the league's best quarterback in Geno Smith.
Only comparatively to the last year's Jets quarterback.
I know. I just am having fun with it. 2-5 in one-score games. They won week 1 against the Patriots, which is wild. The Patriots go to the Super Bowl
week 1
in Foxborough. But
week 1.
I mean, beyond that, they were 2-14. Their win total this year, 5.5. So they're only favored in 3 of their 17 games. They were the worst offense in football last year. They were one of the worst defenses in football, and you have a head coaching change because Pete Carroll, goodbye.
Yeah,
it was fun, but the flavor in that bubble gum, it's finally gone.
Yeah.
Clint Kubiak, though, I mean, this was
It's exciting.
It was the time to capitalize. You go and you do what you did in Seattle. It was impressive. And he gets the head coaching gig. They add Kirk Cousins. They obviously drafted Fernando Mendoza at 101.
They added an elite edge rusher in Max Crosby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. From
the Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 first-round picks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you realize, by the way, that, like, you know that Mendoza's not under contract?
I did not know that.
Wait, he hasn't. What?
Yeah, go.
Is that why he's out on
Go Google it.
Alaskan?
No.
Yes, it is.
You're saying he hasn't signed?
I do not believe he is.
Yeah,
I believe they
it
thought
doesn't
he was
matter.
going to sign.
I see he's signed.
1 day ago, Marcus Allen talking
Oh.
about the Fernando Mendoza situation, the fact that he is not in the building.
He was supposed to.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. It's been very underpublicized.
It's been underpublicized because it will be irrelevant.
Well,
There's
but
nobody-
it's relevant to your snaps and your OTAs and your chance to get reps on this team and your confidence from your head coach.
What is
I
going
would
on?
agree. The difference, and I think
This is why he was on
From-
a cruise with me.
right from our perspective, everyone expects Kirk Cousins to start the season, and everyone expects Mendoza to finish the season.
I believe
think-
that's what's going to happen no matter what. But
Right.
I didn't realize it. I feel like it hasn't been talked about because these are normally slotted situations and the money's pretty
Right.
set. So then
Yeah.
you're talking about things like signing bonus differentials or something.
Yeah, there's always weird things.
And I'm not the expert on what's going on because this is sort of breaking news the last week.
It also looks like their 4th-round pick McCoy hadn't signed.
Well, they are the Raiders.
Yeah.
So
when
they-
you
they-
when
Oh,
you've
come
got
on.
certain
Figure it out.
So it is going to be Cousins to start this year, which
I think it's good.
Cousins
We've-
loves to throw the football to the running back position. That's the thing that jumps out to me. Like, if you want to get off to a hot start, I'm already in love with Ashton Genty this year. But give me a professional quarterback that's already played and some – like, there are just metrics rookie quarterbacks don't hit. They don't hit certain touchdown totals. They don't hit certain yardage totals. The pass attempts per game are going to be lower. I like that it's Cousins to start the year.
I do too. We've talked a lot about the research that we've done, Mike's done, on the fact that pass catching weapons don't usually do well in fantasy with a rookie quarterback. So if you give half a year of Cousins and half a year with Mendoza, and specifically the second half of the year with Mendoza, obviously they're going to be better than having to start the season slow.
I mean, I will say there's some risk of Ashton Genty if you're saying that, like, Mendoza's inevitable.
Yes.
It's just at what point, there's been whispers of they want an entire year of red shirting.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
Would you be able to? But
You're not going to do that if you're two
Well, you
agree,
might. You might.
But like at
If
what
the
point?
season's lost, you also have to make that decision about are
what
those
I'm getting
reps
to
valuable.
is I will always be on the side of I'm worried about rookie quarterbacks, they're skill players, because rookie quarterbacks just don't produce as much. If you have a switch halfway through and now it's like
Bowers,
Genty's one of
Genty.
your guys,
Yeah.
and you're heading into the playoffs, you're like you want if you have a down first half and an elite second half, that's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I
'Cause you
I
wanna
see what
win a
you're-
championship.
I see what you're saying, but I think that when we look at, and maybe we can do a study on second half of the year rookie and
Sure.
they're receiving options in the second half of the year, because it's very, very common where we come in talking about a second-year quarterback and we say, let's throw out the first month of their play. Let's look at the second half of their year, and it's significantly better. Makes just all the
Right,
sense
but if
in
he
the
doesn't get
world.
a first half.
It's his first half if he's taking over the back half.
I mean, obviously it depends on what week he goes in, but I don't think he makes it all the way to the fantasy playoffs before he gets his first start.
I don't like it. It is interesting because both of the elite tight ends that you want the most on your team this year do have quarterback change variables built in.
Sure.
If Bowers gets off to a rock solid start, and
Bowers is going to be awesome.
he is going to be awesome. But you are going to have – look, we spent the entire time talking about the Cardinals when we broke them down, what the target totals and the numbers look like for Trey McBride with Jacoby Brissett, and the Cardinals are a team projected to win almost nothing. There's a chance they take a shot on Carson Beck or somebody the second half of the year or the second the last third of the year.
I would be surprised if Carson Beck doesn't get some starts.
So that is something that's built into both these guys. If Mendoza takes over for the last third of the year, you're going to be underdogs in all those games. You're getting your first snaps. They're going to put pressure on the quarterback. It is going to be a variable there for Bowers and Trey McBride that are like McBride's numbers were so outlandish with Brissett. We're like, oh, well, they'll just be good with somebody else. It's how many touchdowns does Mendoza throw? How many touchdowns does Carson Beck throw for Arizona? That's the concern. McBride's always been great. It was the touchdowns that destroyed him. I do not – it doesn't stop me from drafting Bowers because who else are you going to take if you want elite production at tight end? But I know that Caleb Williams is going to be the starter for the entire year for Colson Loveland.
Sure.
Daniel Jones, barring injury, is going to start the entire year for the Indianapolis Colts. It's just something to keep in the back of your head.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that the talent of Bowers and McBride just usurp the quarterback issues, especially Bowers, because Carson Beck, if he gets starts, that's going to be really, really tough sledding. Mendoza's the number one overall pick for a reason. Maybe he doesn't throw as many touchdowns, which nerfs the true upside, but the number one target for this team is Bowers. I mean, by the widest margin ever. You don't have that same certainty with McBride. Like, maybe Marv becomes the number one target this year or whatever.
I did laugh at your statement about that they don't we did research on how like pass catchers don't do good with rookie quarterbacks, and then the Raiders are like, yeah, so we won't have any. We decided we'll just not have any other than Bowers. Yeah. We're just not gonna worry about Naylor and Tucker and Besh. And
I actually love the Raiders here because their defense is bad and their consolidation of talent is perfect. You have Bowers, you have Genty, and you have no one else to even consider looking at or
for fantasy.
You don't even have someone else, in my opinion, to consider thinking about considering. Like, I'm not going to be worrying about Jalen Naylor.
They're a tier below consideration?
Correct. So I really like both Bowers and Genty. They're going to have so much volume and they have so much talent that combination, when you're that good and you get that much work, it's going to be tough sledding. Yeah, you're going to be playing down and you might not score as many touchdowns, but you're just going to volume your way to fantasy points.
Mike, you know where Jason and I stand on our love of Genty going into the year, but does the upside of Genty and that workload outweigh the risk to you for a team that's projected to only win 5 games?
So Genty is like, I'm a few spots behind you guys because I think the situation is risky. I have no problem. Ashton Genty, the player, is awesome. He did handle a huge workload last year, which is somehow it's an ability. I mean, I don't know how to quantify it, but there's just guys that can do it, and there's guys that cannot. He, when a play actually gets going, he's electric. He will force a missed tackle. I think, they took Mike Washington Jr., just size, speed freak. They took him in the 4th round. The way that Coobs handled Charbs and Ken Walker gives me at least a little bit of pause that a backup might be in there more than you want. So I think he is a sketchy pick at ADP where I can see everything going right, and he's just truly a dominant player because the talent wins out.
Like, do you think he could lead the league in rushing yards?
No, not in rushing.
Okay.
If you're saying like yards from scrimmage, because maybe, like, cause he has to catch a whole bunch of passes.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Of like,
I will
you
say
can't
this.
you can't lead the league in
I don't
rushing.
like that start to the year, man.
Yeah.
Chargers on the road, Saints on the road, Chiefs, New England, and Buffalo.
With their situation, and they're going to win. I'd be like, let's say they have a great year. They win 6 games. Like the first overall pick to winning 6 games with a quarterback switch. That's a solid season. You can't lead the league in rushing with that. That would
Nick
be
Chubb could.
Kyle, that's an interesting trivia question. Like, what's the
Worst record for
what's
a
the
rushing leader?
Yes.
I wonder if you could get that stat for us before the show ends. I don't know if he's that talented.
I think 2 things left to consider. We saw last year Kirk Cousins when he took over. Drake London was injured for most of those games. Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
And Kyle Pitts,
Yeah.
the tight end and the running back, the consolidation for Kirk Cousins was unbelievable. 106 target pace for Bijan during those final games. Pitts was great. So you've already seen, like when I watched Kirk Cousins film, he has lost it. He does not have the deep ball. He's not. I love Kirk Cousins. We've always been a big stan of Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Back in the Vikings day, we felt like he was so under respected, but he is not that guy anymore. But to the tight end
Not that
and
guy
running
now.
back, not the deep shots, those aren't going to happen. But he's going to support these 2 phenomenally. And then the other thing that I don't think we've made enough big a deal about is the offensive change here. Clint Kubiak coming in is not just a good offensive mind coming in.
Sure.
He's replacing an inept situation where you had this weird nepotism with Pete Carroll hiring his 2 sons as like a offensive assistant and offensive line coach, and then ends up firing other people but not his sons. And it was just like, it was a really bad situation they were in, and they're going to swing the pendulum to a really good situation. They still don't have the talent on the offensive line, but I believe that there will be. I mean, I really like those 2 players. I have no fears of either one at value. I think Genty returns on value this year, and Brock is.
So I must stand corrected, as there was a player on a 6-win team who led the league in rushing.
In
Okay.
2010.
In 2010.
You want to guess?
Oh, I could never.
No, you couldn't. But his name's Arian Foster, baby.
Oh, your dreamboat.
That's how good Foster was.
All right. Thursday's show is a mock draft episode. You
Yeah.
do not want to miss that one. And then we'll start jumping into the NFC on Saturday. Get into the UDK. Jason is guaranteed a new feature that we're not sure is even going to be there.
Update your app immediately.
UltimateDraftKit.com.
And give us feedback.
And let us know how those mock drafts are going at sport@fantasyfootballers.com.
How in the world does a running back have 1,600 rushing yards, 16 rushing touchdowns? So he averaged over 100 yards per game on the ground, and you're 6-10. How is
Maybe.
How is that even possible?
I wonder what they were in 1-score games, Mike. Probably pretty crappy. All right, that is going to do it for today's show. Shout out to Arian Foster, my main man. Maybe we'll get one of those years from Genty.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.